So after commissioning,
Yeah,
you went on to set up your own company.
I did. I left Channel 4 in 2001, and I set up a company called Box TV.
And you've mentioned that was Box TV under the same model as Artist Studio?
No.
No. So
Box TV was a traditional production company. Hire the writer, get a commission, make the show.
And then, and did you learn from being a commissioner, do you think, how you would be able to sell those shows to the commissioner? Did that help?
I thought I got an idea about how not to sell them. One of the things that struck me at Channel 4 when I was buying rather than selling programs from people was that people would frequently walk in a very reactive and passive way and say to you, which was a really annoying question, what would you like? You know, and there's something awful about someone saying, well, what would you like? Because your immediate reaction is, well, what have you got? So I took the view in setting up an independent that I would try and have an opinion about what I wanted to make. Unfortunately, the cost of having an opinion is they might say no, we don't want that, or that, or that, or that. So you know, it does require an element of risk. It does require an element of putting your head above the parapet and being prepared to be counted.
And so what happened with Box that meant that you then had to set up Artist Studio?
What happened with Box is we ran the business quite successfully for 5 or 6 years, and then we had an invitation to join a larger group of companies that were coming together under a title, DCD Media, which was an AIM-listed company originally set up around an entity called Digital Classics. And they were AIM-listed and had a fair amount of investment money to spend, and they had decided to buy a group of quite good companies, and they bought Done and Dusted, and they bought us, and they bought September Films, and 5 or 6 very well established producers. What we learned over the course of the next couple of years is that corporate integration is not always the best thing for creativity, and that when companies are market listed, which means that they have their share price exposed on a quotable market, is that they become extremely interested in things like bottom lines, profit, and they are always looking for ways to enhance their value. And that preoccupation, that priority with generating value, does not always go hand in glove with a business, particularly in storytelling and in drama, where you simply, whatever you do, you will experience peaks and troughs of success. You will not have a success graph that goes like, in fact nobody does, it's just a myth that business invents in order to kid everybody, but you will not have a success graph that just goes better and better and better and better. It'll go better and better and better, and then shit, and then, you know, it'll 2 years in the doldrums, and then you'll pick up again. And cities and AIM-listed companies and all that hate tachygraphic, you know, tachycardic rhythms on business. They're always looking for the goal of something that will consistently perform. So to answer your question, we had our little buyout, we had our flurry with an AIM-listed company, and after a couple of years we decided to go and do something else, and that's what we did. We set up Artist Studio, but converted the model a bit from a traditional production company to a company that would work more in joint venture with writers, and that was a little bit unusual because that was more of a United Artist in the old days. I don't know whether any of you know the story, but Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks were stars of the silver screen. They had incredibly successful careers, and they fell out individually and collectively. They fell out with their studios because they got fed up with the studios taking all the money. They got together and said, you know what, we're the talent, we're the artists, we're going to set up a studio. And they did, and they set up a studio called United Artists, which was basically run and owned by the talents. And for the next 40, 50 years, United Artists remained a hugely successful and powerful studio in America, right up until Michael Cimino bust the bank, blew the budget, and sunk the studio with a film called Heaven's Gate, which I strongly recommend you see, just because as you're watching it at 7 hours, 10 minutes, you can see a studio just collapsing behind it. It's a great experience. It's a great film, actually. It's a really great film. It's just a shame that it killed United Artists.
So you're an artist studio without United?
Without the United, no. We're definitely not.
And how many of you working, how many producers work there?
Well, there are 3 of us in sort of full-time roles, and then we have a development producer who works with us part-time, and we are actually just expanding our relatively small team. We are bringing a couple of other producers in over the next 6 months.